This was only the beginning. More and more evidence kept coming out against Parler over the next few weeks, effectively turning the entire internet against him. His tweets were getting hit with community notes like, Parler, in spite of reporting predators, is in fact a predator himself, and has used his platform to silence his own critics through deflection and lying. And people across the internet were calling him a groomer and a certified PDF file. The backlash was mounting quickly, and for a good reason. The messages between Parler and Jupe were concerning to say the least, with him constantly engaging in overtly explicit topics, bringing up just how hot he was again and again, and worst of all, talking about meeting Jupe in person in a hotel, and even staying together overnight. The evidence was overwhelming enough that there didn't seem to be any way for Parler to defend himself. But just as everyone in the Roblox community was about to write off Parler as a predator, a single revelation changed the entire situation. As it turned out, Jupe had lied to Parler about his age, claiming that he was over 17, less than 2 years younger than Parler, when in reality there was a 7-year age gap between the two. What made it even worse was the length Jupe went to in order to catfish Parler. He didn't just lie about his age once, but kept doing it over the course of their relationship, going as far as to mention being born in 2007, talk about turning 18 next April, and saying stuff like, I have college next year. Most importantly, when all of this came out, Jupe straight up admitted to lying about his age, stating, Parler had no reasonable way to know my age. I lied to him for over 1 year and 8 months. I used many manipulation tactics to try and convince Parler of my age. This revelation proved Parler's innocence, and should have been all he needed to move on with his life. However, his troubles were not over just yet, because while many on the internet now knew the truth, there were a few who wanted him to suffer as much as possible, and the most prominent name in this second group was an individual named Natspop. Nats had been a public enemy of Parler ever since he accused Nat's friend, Nathrix, of being a groomer. According to Parler, Nats was leading a smear campaign against him, and even accused him of being the one who posted the community note we mentioned earlier, stating, Natspop is abusing the Twitter community note feature to defame me as a PDF file and predator after I debunked and addressed the situation where I was catfished and Jupe lied about their age. Action needs to be taken against this user. The slander and harassment is insane. However, harassing someone online is one thing. It was damaging Parler's reputation, but it wasn't life-ruining, so Nats and his group decided to escalate and take things to the next level. They started filing police reports against Parler, where they selectively sent over the screenshots that made him look guilty of being inappropriate with a minor. And this wasn't a hidden tactic either. Nats was openly gloating about it on Twitter, and even admitted to lying about it on a call with one of Parler's friends.
Were you fully aware that Dupe lied about his age when you made this report?
Yes, I was fully aware.
So, how many times have you communicated with this officer that you spoke with through email?
Like 5 times.
5 times, and not one of those times you actually mentioned that Dupe lied about his age? Just to clarify.
I did not mention it, no. The only time that I mentioned was on the description.
Unfortunately for Parler, this tactic worked better than Nats could have ever imagined, and on September 11th, 2025, at around 2 AM, UK police showed up at his door with the whole SWAT team and arrested him at gunpoint. He had to spend 12 hours in jail overnight before the police let him go, likely because they found evidence that the report was fake. Now, if the story ended here, Parler would have been cleared of any wrongdoing by his audience and be allowed to move on with his regular content. He did receive 2 community guideline strikes on his channel, possibly due to Nats and co mass reporting his videos. Getting one more would have resulted in his channel getting terminated. For now, he had a clear path towards making a full comeback. But as you might have guessed from the title of this video, that's not what happened. Instead, this marked the beginning of Parler's self-inflicted downfall that ended with him losing everything. You see, while Parler was able to avoid any real jail time due to Natspop's false police reports, the swatting and 12 hours in jail were still incredibly traumatic.
Out of nowhere, Parler looked outside of his window and he saw a bunch of red and blue flashing lights. There were tons of police cars outside of his house with many vans, many cars, and many officers with full-on tactical gear and rifles. At that point, Parlo went on mute. He came back and he told me that he had to leave the call because the police were telling him to get off the phone and shut off all of his devices.
Paolo had also stopped uploading and was apparently struggling with his finances as well, so Paolo opened a GoFundMe titled "Please Help," citing his recent situation as the reason for him needing help, stating, "Recently, I have been a victim of a horrific witch hunt by a number of online individuals attempting to harass me, defame me, and ruin my life over lies. I have been since diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety, and have been prescribed medication. This situation has caused immense mental distress. I do not ask for anything that you do not feel comfortable sending, but if you wish, all I kindly ask is a small donation to help me pay for expenses, food, rent, and other amenities in this horrible period of time. Also, with potential funds for further action I may take." For his loyal viewers who had just witnessed their favorite YouTuber go through a rough situation, this was a no-brainer, resulting in the GoFundMe getting nearly £600 or roughly $800 in donations from fans. To them, they were helping someone in need get back on their feet, when in reality, Paolo had no need for these funds in the first place. Not long after opening this GoFundMe, Paolo apparently bought a brand new laptop and phone. Together, these